Welcome to the video presentation for CHAMPS and the first day of school. I'm J.L. Hegewald and I teach 8th grade science here at Excelsior Academy Middle School. Today I'll be referencing a couple of different sources for information. The first is a book called CHAMPS, which outlines the classroom management approach that we use here at Excelsior Academy. The second is a book called The First Days of School by Harry Wong and Rosemary Wong. CHAMPS is a classroom management program that allows teachers to dissect their classroom activities, analyze how they'd like students to act during each of those activities, and then communicate those expectations to their students. CHAMPS is meant to be used throughout your lesson and throughout the year. CHAMPS is an acronym, so each letter stands for an expectation that we have for our students during a particular activity or portion of our lesson. The C is for conversation. So what level of talking is allowed during that particular activity? The H is for help. How do our students get help from the teacher or attention from the teacher during that activity? The A is for activity or action. What's the objective of this portion of the lesson? The M is for movement. What will our students be expected to be doing with their bodies during this portion of the lesson? Are they allowed to get out of their seats? Are they allowed to walk around the room, or are they supposed to be stationary? Okay, the P is for participation. That means as an educator, when you look at your students, what do you see that indicates that they are participating in the lesson appropriately? The S stands for success. And is going to be the same for each activity. Consistency is what makes the CHAMPS program effective in our school. Consistency applies to both each classroom, so applying it every day and throughout every lesson. It also applies to our school. That means that each teacher needs to be using it in a similar fashion so our students know what to expect as they move from classroom to classroom. We know that when we are efficient and when we are consistent, CHAMPS is effective. We rely on that day-to-day consistency in our own classrooms, and we also rely on school-wide consistency. One of the barriers that keeps CHAMPS from being the most successful is introducing all of those expectations for every activity that we are going to be doing in our classroom on the first day of school. We can counteract this by introducing our expectations gradually and only as students need them to complete relevant routines and procedures in our classrooms. Switching gears to our second source of information. This is the book titled The First Days of School. I really like this book. It's written from a really positive perspective, and it's a really great read for all teachers. Harry Wong's main idea is that all teachers can become effective. There are three main ideas that he has for teachers who are effective. Okay, and a really great quote that he has for teachers who want to be the most effective is that what you do on the first days of school will determine your success or failure as a teacher for the rest of the school year. I have a teenage son, and every item of clothing he shows me online is some kind of collaboration between two different brands. When there's a collaboration, they use the letter X to kind of marry those two ideas together. So that's what we're going to do today. We're taking our CHAMPS expectations, remember those expectations for each activity that we have in our classroom, and we're combining them with the first days of school to hopefully create the most effective classroom environment and become the most effective teachers. Remember, our first barrier in making CHAMPS the most effective it can be was overloading our students on day one. In order to avoid overloading our students on day one, we want to introduce CHAMPS as we explicitly teach relevant classroom procedures during those first days of school. This chart shows some examples of CHAMPS expectations that you may need to teach on those first few days of school. It also shows some possible relevant activities that you can use to teach those expectations. On day one, you may be working on entering the classroom, exiting the classroom, and then some direct instruction. And then you want to look for relevant activities that you can use to practice those expectations. For instance, your students might be coming in and completing a bell ringer. You can use that activity to practice how they enter the classroom. You might be showing them a slideshow about who you are or what our school is about or what their schedule is going to look like. Okay, you can use that as practice for how you want them to act during direct instruction. Okay, on day two, you might want to start working on your expectations for how they will transition to different activities, how they'll work in groups, and then there are some possible relevant activities for those. Day three, you might start working on some class discussion, some independent work. By day 4 of class, we should be utilizing the CHAMPS expectations we have put into place and practicing them with our students. This is a good time to work on some practice, showing students how you will respond if they are not meeting or following your expectations. So those should be some teacher-led practice where you can show them, hey, this is not appropriate, this is appropriate behavior, and this is what's going to happen if you're not following those directions or those expectations. On the 5th day of school and beyond, it's time to put into practice all of the expectations we have taught our students. Remember that the key to having our CHAMPS be effective, both in our classroom and school-wide, is consistency. Our goal as effective teachers is to positively model and reinforce our expectations every class and every day. Okay, positively reinforce means that you're rewarding those students who are acting the way that you are expecting them to. They're following those expectations. And then you're also remembering to frequently model what they should be doing so that they don't forget. I hope that this helps with mapping out your CHAMPS expectations for the first few days of school. There is a handout. If you would like to get in touch with me, I have that available and I'm happy to get that for you so that you can map out your plan for relevant activities and also for the CHAMPS expectations you'd like to touch on each of those first few days to be the most effective that you can and setting yourself up for success.